Hi there, long time no see. Kind of a rarity that I do videos in this sort of format, at least I will early on in this one. That's mostly because my videos are scripted, and I find it really off-putting when people are either looking down like this or constantly glancing up and down. That one makes me kind of nervous. So that's why I don't hop on cam all that often. I do on streams and things, but it's been a little while since I've done that. So I want to take the opportunity today to talk about a few things that's been going on within the Payday community, in and around Payday 3 as a game. For the last couple of months, really, since the turn of the year, I've done my best to just kind of bury my head in the sand. And that's worked to an extent. I actually think I've made some decent videos in the process, but I think the situation is sort of reaching a point where I have to say something, because I'm really wasted that Not With a Bang But a Whimper title. That's what's going on right now, and I think there's lots of kind of complicated dynamics to it, which I'm going to get into in a minute once I can get back to the comfort of my script. But I just want to start this one off by saying, yeah, I know it's a bit strange me appearing like this. I do think it's worth putting my 2 cents in and maybe making some of you aware who aren't aware of some of the recent going-ons in and around Payday. And it's been kind of a relief for me to not be worrying about this day in, day out, and just doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to do that as soon as this video is over. But for now, I want to talk about Payday 3 and the future of the Payday franchise in general. So if that interests you, sit back, relax, and listen to the far more prepared and well-spoken version of Kknowley. Thanks, guys. Let's start with a short discussion around the whole third-party publisher situation with Plaion and Deep Silver. As we know, their 18 months were up in March, and that leaves us in this limbo state we're currently in. I don't know anything about the nature of the contracts previously signed between Starbreeze and Plaion, but I can certainly guess why their potential renewal is an issue, and why the very nature of this contracting situation has resulted in yet more painfully delayed updates. That's just the way of it with these guys, and it has been for years. Starbreeze signs a crippling contract with a short-termist mindset that hamstrings them for years to come. Bearing in mind we know the next update will include paid content, the problem is obviously related to how that all shakes out, how the revenue split functions, potential marketing responsibilities, etc. Then there's the problem of Plaion almost certainly retaining some form of revenue ownership beyond the fixed dates of their contract obligations, bearing in mind they funded the pre-launch marketing, which probably entitles them for the game's lifespan. It's pretty much a disaster no matter how you look at it. It's delayed the release of Armor 2.0, one of the most highly anticipated updates yet. Right at the moment they managed to capture some momentum off the back of the Jacket launch and PS Plus deal. Then there's my pet theory that one of the reasons management is so seemingly disinterested with growing Payday 3 is that incumbent contracts make doing so a barely profitable endeavour for Starbreeze themselves. It's like a cavalcade of incompetence, with one disastrous decision flowing into another, and the ones suffering the consequences being the under-resourced devs tasked with somehow improving the game, and the actual fans of the franchise watching it crumble around them. So yeah, the update and publisher situation isn't great. I think I'd rather just know where we stand than be left with uncertainty in terms of that Armor 2.0 release and offline situation. Currently it feels like we're being strung along to save face and avoid Project Baxter being burdened with another studio failure before launch. I find it disingenuous, and it's the primary factor in why I refuse to recommend spending money on or in the game at this moment in time. But that's not the only potential disaster facing Starbreeze right now. There's more than just a little discontent from within. The satellite French branch appears to have been closed, once home to 23 essential developers hired mostly to technical roles. French employment law is exceptionally employee friendly as I understand, so I suspect Starbreeze have been forced to offer relocation opportunities as they aim to consolidate their work capabilities in the new office in Stockholm. But asking long-term workers to move their entire lives at the drop of a hat is likely to result in very few taking them up on that offer. Not to mention how much water appears to have gone under the bridge between members of that French team and senior leadership at Starbreeze, with some going as far as to seemingly leak internal conversations to the press. What this does, even if we were to discount the loss of technical work capacity, is breed discontent amongst remaining employees, whilst having to onboard their potential replacements takes time and results in historical understanding of key systems being lost for good. brain drain essentially, and I have it on good authority that this isn't where the job losses end. Publishing has also taken a massive hit, and a multitude of Starbreeze employees I've been acquainted with over the years from all departments no longer work there. Just as impactful as the layoffs, which by the way were not paid redundancies as you'd expect from a studio in Starbreeze's financial position, is the churn and attrition that comes from working in a discontented studio with rudderless leadership. Who wants to work on a game that has clearly been abandoned by most of its player base and isn't resourced or staffed accordingly for what it requires? Who wants to remain when they see colleagues pushed out and at times scapegoated by the cowards at the top? Then you ask, who wants to stay and work on Baxter when the previous 2 titles this company has worked on have been unmitigated disasters? It's a slippery slope, which is why LinkedIn is showing key figures leaving in their droves. I mean it when I say within 12 months, I'll be amazed if there are any faces remaining that you recognise from either the Payday 2 days or even as recently as Payday 3's launch. That said, I have to speak on 2 of the more public departures in recent days of Little Guy G and Mio. Little Guy G is someone I've met many times and remains a peer of mine as well as a close friend, so I'm not going to speculate specifically on the circumstances around his departure from Starbreeze, but the fact he's now started at Czech-based in-game studios to work on none other than crime boss Rocket City should give you all you need to know. From my admittedly biased perspective, Luke knows Payday better than almost anyone and was perfectly poised to bring back some joy and personality to their media marketing. Look no further than the trailers for Jacket and First World Bank if you want some evidence of his desire to bring Payday back to its glory days, evoking that golden period from 2012 to 2015 in his work. Then look no further than his original track for the Don't Be a Hero browser game promoting Jacket to understand his passion and talent. The same was true of Nico, the cinematic artist preceding him in that position for all his work in and outside of trailers.
Now listen, everybody get down, this is a robbery mask on, fucking with clowns, going for fame, money, guns and renown.
You can't replicate that, and the Crime Boss guys have pulled off a coup here. As an area they were clearly lacking in previously, I'm very excited to see what new trailers they come out with. In my eyes, this is indicative of the limited ambition Starbreeze holds, and it leads to a future where cinematic marketing for Starbreeze games will be deprioritized and more likely outsourced. Talent and passion is clearly not being valued or rewarded, at least enough to stick around at the studio. And it almost felt like they were signalling this fact when Marcus, responsible for things like the most recent live-action Jacket trailer, appeared on stream during his final week. It's just more reason for me to be concerned. The second public departure is likely a more controversial one, as Miodrag Kovacevic, known to most as ex-game director Mio, has now departed Starbreeze altogether. Mio had previously returned to the senior game designer role he held during Payday 3's launch and was responsible for the overskill and upcoming Armor 2.0 designs. Of course, that doesn't really do the saga justice, as so much came out of the whole ammo funnel and replenish debacle last summer. In truth, I don't really want to get too heavily into that discussion again. I still believe it was the wrong approach, both at the time and now, but I've since come to realise that my videos on the subject added fuel to the fire and influenced the discourse evolving into something it never should have. It's that escalation which led to it blowing up on social media, something I'm sure Mio regrets having any part in, but wasn't met proportionally at the time. The whole Mio must go Reddit movement was founded on misinformation, as I've since learned these unpopular changes were even spearheaded by the man himself. Mio was just forced to take the brunt of the responsibility given his position at the time. It's a travesty, and the more I come to understand, the more I feel the stomach acid churning. The original skill system was developed solely by Mio with a 2-week deadline, hence the need for it to be all-encompassing and simplistic. Armor at launch wasn't designed by him, but was falsely attributed to him given how dev diaries were filmed. Even before the game launched, things weren't concordant, and the deadlines were already utterly unreasonable. And in the wake of that incident, the approach from Starbreeze has been baffling. I believe Mio was left out to dry, and I took very real umbrage with whoever decided to start censoring or misattributing his future contributions. It was all about optics and saving face, never about a proper resolution. And as I've said before, after Troy leaving the partner program earlier on this year, I bet management felt daft given how everything transpired. Just briefly touching on the partners, he wasn't the only one to move on. Mariner Top Hat is also gone, ever classy in how he approached things, with the rare long-form Payday 3 Wish You a Good video. No longer being a part of the program was an aside for him, because it was never the status that offered which made him join in the first place. As for me, I'm hanging in there. I'm a believer I can do more from the inside than out. I want to stress that partners have in the past had a tangibly beneficial impact on the game, up to and including influencing how its content is monetized. I obviously can't elaborate beyond that right now, but please believe me, the only ones who successfully saved Starbreeze's face in the past are those active partners talking on their community's behalf. Even with that in mind, my belief is also on thin ice at this stage. My final thoughts on Mio's departure are these. I don't agree with all their design decisions or approach to community interaction. However, since the end of Payday 2's development, I can't think of any developer I've interacted with who was as dedicated to making Payday a better franchise. In spite of the ire and hatred sent his way, Mio hasn't stopped caring deeply about Payday 3. Quite the opposite, which says a lot about his character. So much of that work remains unimplemented, but if it ever does see the light of day, I suspect Mio's departure last week will be viewed in hindsight as the blow it actually was. But enough on outgoings, I should also mention the new incoming CEO of Starbreeze, Adolf Christiansen. He's now heading operations, although anticipate a transition period, coming over from near neighbour EA as their once commercial senior director, global head of digital, and global strategic franchise director. People will point to his EA ties and previous work related to monetization strategy and assume the worst, although I doubt that's the pedigree he's been hired on, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. What I will say is that this is not the first appointment amongst senior leadership coming over directly from EA, which is not a company that's traditionally been run the overkill Starbreeze way. Payday fans tend to resist modern monetization methods, whereas EA wishes they invented them. None of that is quite as important in my eyes though, as how long it took for this appointment to be made. Matt Yule was interim CEO for much longer than the standard interim period. Finding someone capable, or more likely willing to take on this now poison chalice of a position was clearly quite difficult. This speaks for the current reputation of Starbreeze and probably says all we need to know about how the Swedish business market perceives their financial future. As I did on Twitter, I'm going to wish Adolf the best of luck with this one and say, rather you than me, mate. But you know who else is acting like a new appointment right now? The one and only Almir Listo. If you want to watch a fun montage of a man on the verge of crashing out, look no further than Safi's most recent video. It's very much mask off for the face of Payday right now. He's much more brazen in how willing he is to discuss personal thoughts and feelings, both within the game itself and how decisions are being handled. It's kinda brilliant if you don't think about it for too long. He's acting like a man with nothing to lose. I'm all for it, it's refreshing, but also speaks volumes on the current state of affairs, and of course Almir's own mindset. He's just completely uninhibited. As for that highly elusive update he keeps talking about, I'm positive it's gonna happen. It's a case of when, not if. On the other hand, offline mode remains a concern that I don't ever see being answered in a satisfying way, so I've pretty much written it off. I believe when it does happen, it will also herald the end of support for Payday 3, so it's likely to be a bittersweet win for fans regardless. In all, any faith I had in the game at the start of the year has already been eroded, and I went into things with as much optimism as I could muster. If you do still have hope it will succeed, more power to you. I just caution you to keep your expectations in check, as I wish I had back in 2023. As for me, I'm going to keep trying to capture the magic this franchise once held. I'm extremely proud of this year's Payday video, which is on Payday 2, and the No Skills Challenge for Payday 3 was a hell of a lot of fun to record, even if I know interest is understandably waning for the game. When the post-mortem comes, I'll likely still be here. I'm just hoping there's interest in the other types of videos I'm working on, because I really have rekindled that video making passion for those higher effort creations. My Payday-like series is rapidly becoming my most popular output on this channel, so I'm looking forward to doing more with that as the year goes on. That all said, this is going to be the final moan again for a little while. The franchise doesn't need me giving it more negative press than it's already getting. I just believe I have a duty to give these more important topics the time of day every once in a while. Normal service will be resuming next week, so stay tuned, have a good one, and I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.